to meet you guys. I did this last year. It was a lot of fun up in the city. Like Robin said, I'm a product manager at Google. What I was hoping to talk to you guys about, it's kind of ties in maybe a little bit well with demo day, is what a product manager does, which really is like you built the thing. Like what should we build is like the first step, and then how do we build it, and then how do we get in front of customers. So like we don't really do the middle part. That's probably most of you guys as product managers, but we think a lot about like, are we building the right thing, and are we like, do we have a way to get it to customers? And so I'm hoping to talk to you guys a little bit about that stuff, which maybe you haven't been thinking as much about over the last couple of weeks. What Robin said about like public speaking is also, I think, really, really true. Just the fact that you can build stuff, like you guys are going to be fine in life, I think. But if you can build stuff, if you can build the right stuff, and if you can get it in front of customers, then you have a shot of doing something like really, really amazing that like only a few people in the world can do. So hopefully we'll get a little practice over the next 30 minutes or so. I want to kind of make it interactive and so I'm hoping to hear a little bit about somebody's project. Anybody want to tell me like what they're building? Yeah, in green shirt.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm making a smart garden, and so I'm trying to get, I have three sensors, one's for temperature, one's for moisture, and one's for light. And I'm using the MIT App Inventor to be able to see the data on my phone and create a graph.
Cool. I need two more. Yeah.
I'm building a robotic hand. Basically, I have a glove which has sensors on it that whenever I bend a finger, it will turn servos which will bend the robotic hand fingers.
Cool. One more. This side. From like the front row and the side. From like these three in the front row. Whoever's in the middle.
I'm making like an adjustable socket that attaches onto a ratchet.
Cool.
That sounds so lame.
Alright, can the three of you guys come up? Consider yourselves lucky. This will be like, you three will have practice being in front of a room before demo day. So you guys will be ahead of the curve. You guys can stand over there. Alright, we're going to talk about, remember, two things, right? Not about how to build the thing, but how to validate that like people want it, and then how to get it in front of customers. So let's start right here. Adjustable socket for a ratchet.
Yeah.
How do you think? I'll give you some ideas, but let's start. Anybody in the audience, how could you validate whether people want an adjustable socket for a ratchet?
I don't know what it is. I'll take a ratchet.
Yeah, let's do a little more explanation.
Wait, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a tool which you put like sockets on, and then like for X has it like screws, and you can like loosen or tighten. It's like a tool. Yeah. No one knows what it is.
I know back end of that, like slightly.
Yeah.
It makes a nice sound.
Yeah, the thing that has that good sound. Yeah, the one that makes like that satisfying sound. Yeah.
Alright. So the first thing that we got to do is figure out what the problem is, right? So what's the problem that you're solving?
So basically, for like different sized screws, you need to like find a bunch of like sockets, and like you have to test out which one will fit. So like you have to like keep on trying them and put in different ones. So with like an adjustable one, you just have one, and you can tighten it. It's like fit the size of the screw.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So the first thing is we got to validate, like, is that a problem that people have, right?
Yeah.
So if you, right? It is. How would you, besides just thinking so, like, how might you actually say, like for sure that this is a problem that people
I
have?
don't, I don't know the use cases exactly, but it seems like going through a whole bunch of different things could be time
Yeah.
consuming, and, you know, it's gonna shorten time that, like, I think is valuable to people, and it's just like a nice, neat thing that I'm sure wouldn't cost much as well.
Yeah. So what if I'm like, what if it's Shark Tank? Right? Because you're like, okay, you built the thing, and like, it can't just be like, I think people, it seems right, right? You're gonna get like eaten by sharks, right? Yeah, go ahead.
You could like
That's a good one. We'll talk about that.
you could like go, I don't know, like Home Depot or somewhere where they sell like tools and be like, hey, would this be something that you would find useful?
Yeah.
Like go to people who might want to buy it and say like, if this were a product that you could buy, would you want to buy it?
Yeah, that's great.
Or like, we use ratchets for like cars and stuff, so you could go to like a car shop and like ask them if they have a problem.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was basically gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say like market research surveys maybe towards like people who would use it, like mechanical engineers.
Yeah. All right, so that's good. We got one. I think what you guys are talking about is trying to sell it essentially before you've actually like built it, or maybe you have a prototype and before you go make like 100,000 of them, then you go and like actually try to talk to people. Surveys can be really good. One of the things that can be tough is that probably like the people that you go talk to are going to say like, yeah, that's a problem, right? The most important thing I think is to figure out when you're trying to sell something or trying to sell something that you haven't built yet, is you got to ask for something in return, right? So you either ask for money, you ask for time, or you ask for reputation, right? So if you're asking for money, you can say like, if I, you know, can I take you down for a pre-order, right? Like, do you want to buy 10 of them? And then usually the conversation changes, right? It's like, oh, this is really cool, you know, you guys are like teenagers, that's super cool, building stuff, that's awesome. And then you're like, you know, do you want to buy 10 for like $1,000 each or whatever? And they're like, well, you know, that's when you get the truth, right? Or you ask for time, like, hey, can I actually come to your shop every day and you spend like half an hour with me, like figuring out like if this is working for your shop or what adjustments do we need to make? And then they're like, well, I'm busy or something like that, right? Or you ask for reputation, which is like, that's great, you like it. Can you introduce me to like 5 of your friends that also have, you know, auto body shops or whatever, right? And you might get an enthusiastic yes, because like I know everybody has this problem, or you might not, right? Let's think about other ideas. So you had the smart garden,
Yeah.
right? So can you describe the problem that it's solving?
The problem that it's solving? I guess it's so that you could see the different data without like going to your plan and like estimating. Like it gives like certain values.
Yeah.
And also gives a graph
Yeah.
over time.
Right. Cool. So how might we validate that that's a problem that a lot of people have? We had going and trying to sell. Is this for like farmers or for people that have gardens in their backyard?
Gardens in their backyard.
Okay. So besides like going to Home Depot and trying to get them to carry it, which is a good one, what else do you think we could do? Any other ideas? Yeah.
I don't know if there's some data on like how many people plant stuff in their backyard like every year or something.
Yeah, that's great. So you could do some research, market research. Anybody else? Yeah.
Give the product to some people for free and like have them use it for a while and then ask for their opinion on it. And then after they finish that testing.
Yeah, that's a great one too. Like build a prototype.
Put the product in Asian supermarkets, there's a lot of Chinese parents that grow vegetables.
Yeah. We're going to talk about distribution actually later. I'm going to get into different but that's a really good one. But let's assume that we haven't built the product yet. And before we, or maybe we did some prototype work, right? But we don't have enough of them to like stock a store yet. And we want to figure out if people want it before we build a bunch of them, right?
Like put it on Kickstarter and see like the I guess general response. If more people like back it, then like it means that there might be a high demand for it. And if it's like not very popular, then it's
Yeah. This is awesome. There's Kickstarter that is a brilliant way of not only, like, it serves two purposes, right? You get to see if people actually want it, but then you also kind of have all these people that are advocating for the product that you have, right? I think the other real benefit of Kickstarter is just like the process of getting it onto Kickstarter. Like, you would have to really have your story down, you would have to know who you're targeting, you'd have to make a video that talks about like exactly why this is such a big problem that everybody needs to put up money to do it. So I think that's a really good one. Okay, third, we have, what was it, robotic hand.
Alright.
What's the problem?
So I'm gonna have to be a little bit creative here. So the robotic hand is just a cool project, but I have some ideas for expanding it and maybe some use cases for the consumer market. Something like, right now what I'm doing is just testing a glove and I'm getting values from different movements of that glove. Now what if I could use this to interact with other things? Opening a door could just be like a cool Jedi move and just opening the door. Or something even like, I'm in a laboratory and I can't really interact with these all radioactive chemicals inside the laboratory. That would kill me. But like something like, I'm outside the glass, but I'm still able to almost have machines mimicking my hand movement. So I have that manual control without actually having to, interact with this or wear like a hazard suit or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's in the preliminary stages where I'm just getting a simple hand to move back and forth, but it definitely can be expanded.
Yeah. So this is a great one. So we've got a technology here, and there's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different ways that you might be able to sell it that are like wildly different, right? Like you've got the Jedi market, which I can see you believe strongly in. You've got the like laboratory market, right? There's probably others as well. So let's say you've got 5 different potential ways that you could sell this thing, and before you go build a bunch of them, really want to know which one, because maybe the Jedis and the pharmaceutical labs like have slightly different requirements and things. So without building a bunch of them, how do you think we could, and we've only got like, let's say a week or 2, to like validate there's like 5 different potential groups of people that might have that problem. Now this is the 3rd one, right? So I gotta make it the hardest. How do you think within a week or 2 we could validate like all 5? Yes?
Reddit.
Reddit? Alright. How would you use Reddit?
Yeah, just go on different subreddits and like ask, like, I don't know, put up like a poll or something, ask if people want this or not.
Yeah. A poll can be good, although I think you can run into in my personal experience, you can run into the same issue, which is like, everybody's like all gung-ho about your idea until you try to like, until you're asking for something, right? So like this is like a real problem that like people are going out and yeah.
I think colleges might be a good place to start because they usually have laboratories or just piles and piles of data for different research groups.
Yeah.
So that, and also they have a pretty diverse campus, so it could be a test like subject.
Yeah. So let's say that the college is as like somebody that would buy it.
Sort of just validating that there's interest.
Yeah.
Sort of like, okay, in your college.
Yeah. I'm going to challenge that as like, that's maybe one of the 3 groups. Or just if you ask, like I want something a little more concrete, right? I'm like Mark Cuban, and I'm going to put my 500K into this idea, or whatever. Like I want some data, right? Let's say it that way. Yes?
Maybe you can try to find like other products that may be similar or have tried to fill like whatever solution that you're presenting and then see how those have done or like where their shortcomings were. To see like what the interest might be.
Right. I think that is really good. Like it's good to do competitive research. I think you still got to validate though that like the changes that you've made to the product are the right ones. So in this one, I'm gonna kind of go out on one of the ones that I really like and one of the ones that I've used at startups and other places, which is you said fake it till you. Somebody said fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Yes. So this one, I think that this is like a really brilliant one, which is just even if you built nothing, like, and you've got to validate something like there's 5 different uses of a robotic hand. One of the things you can do is just start going online and, like, if you've got a little bit of money, start buying ads, right? And make 5 different ads, right? One targeted for colleges. You can use Google, right? Very good targeting products. So one targeted for like Jedi enthusiasts, right? One targeted for pharmaceutical. Like, you can target ads really well on Google and other competitors that I won't name. And so you can just you'll very quickly get data on like who's clicking, right? And then also what you can do is like get the marketing copy right. You know what I mean? Like what messaging aligns with different people. And then what you can do is put up a web page, right? And let's say you can do a pre-order. You can put up your own web page and just see how many people like come there and actually would click to like sign up for, even if you can't get them to buy it, like how many people are gonna like sign up for your newsletter or something like that, right? And you got 5 web pages, 5 sets of ads. Then you've all of a sudden got a lot of data on like which group of people might be really interested in your thing, right? So I think a couple ideas that we heard is like go out and try and sell it, right? If you're making something that you can sell to companies, this is something most people don't know. You can get companies to spend like tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on things that do not exist today, right? You'll hear from a lot of like startup founders. They'll go to HP, they'll go to Amazon, they'll go to Whole Foods, they'll go to like anywhere, and like if their problem is bad enough, they'll spend a lot of money. They'll sign contracts for a lot of money with like nothing, with 2-person, 3-person startups, right? Kickstarter on the if you're selling to like average people with a gardener, like with a garden in their backyard. So like selling ahead of time is really good. Getting data on like ads and websites are really good. And then I think what was the third one? We said, oh yeah, we said trying to sell it, faking it, right? And
looking for other possible like,
yeah.
Products that have very similar.
Yeah, you can do like market research, right? So those are all really good. Oh, there's actually one more, which is you can build a prototype. It's called a Wizard of Oz prototype. And so like there was a founder that wanted to make like a car service for kids, so Uber for kids, right? And like before you, like little tiny, like I have a 4-year-old, right? So like I'm not gonna put her in an Uber and send her to school, right? But they had this idea that if there was like a licensed professional person that like, and it was very safe, that people would be willing to do it. And so they didn't want to like build the whole service. So what she did is she just put up a website with her own phone number and said, this is like a robot that you can text with and it will get you a car. And meanwhile, it was just like her, right? And she had 3 drivers and she was getting like text messages on her personal phone requesting a pickup at a certain address, right? And so she didn't build like anything about a company. She just found 3 friends to start driving. And so selling ahead of time, getting data from fakes, and putting together like the really, really minimal, like basically it's almost like faking it, right? But Wizard of Oz, right? There's like somebody behind the curtain doing all the real work, so maybe you don't have to build a robotic hand, right? Maybe there's actually somebody like moving the thing, right? Who knows? Or maybe you just like, you make a deal to go to people's backyards and like take the readings every single day and text it to them, right? And if you got like 5 people, like your 5 neighbors involved in that service, you might not have to build anything in order to figure out like what they care about, which signals they care about, if they're willing to pay for it, whatever it is, right? So that's essentially validation. That's like the first half of what you do as a product manager, is figuring out like, before we take this big team of engineers and like have them go waste a bunch of time building stuff, like do people actually want it, right? Round of applause for let's say, you've done your validation, you did your demo day, there's investors that want to invest in your product, right? And now you're going to figure out like, okay, how am I going to get it into the hands of people that want it? So let's take 3 more. What else? Who else is building something? Demo day is going to be like very quiet. Nobody's building anything. Alright, somebody yes.
I'm making a Wally robot that can like convey emotions kind of.
Cool. Who else?
Sunscope.
No, not me. Him.
Sunscope.
I'm kind of making something that senses how far an object is, and then it beeps based on that. It's for like blind people, so that they can see.
Cool. Yes.
I am using Amazon Alexa for my automation by tapping into the AWS code using a particles form.
Cool. Come on up.
Oh, go for it.
Let's go.
That's exactly.
Alright. Let's start over here. So you were building the distance detector. Just real quick, can we review like from the first section, like what was the problem? And then like pick one of the three of like how you might validate it. The three were like Wizard of Oz prototype, like fake website or ads, and like going and trying to sell and get pre-orders.
So the problem was that like canes are kind of clunky and easy to lose. It's like something that a blind person could wear at all times, and they can like figure out where they are and like if they're gonna bump into something. So that was the problem. How I would validate it, I'd probably do like test sales, I guess, like market research, because you can't really fake it as much, and you can't really like do the Wizard of Oz prototyping, because you can't really tell them how far they
Yeah,
are.
the Wizard of Oz would be difficult. But what if you put up ads for people to say like radar cane? You think you can get people to click on it? Jedi cane? Going back. What's that?
They're blind, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they probably have like.
What's that?
Yeah, a braille computer.
Yeah. I think you can use the web if you're blind.
Computers exist.
Yeah. There's braille computers. I think there's also like the things that read it out. This is a particularly challenging one.
Ads.
Well, it reads out the website, which I guess makes it, yeah. So this is a tough one. Any other ideas, like for blind people specifically? Yeah.
Maybe also just a step back, figure out how blind people get ads. There
Yeah.
might be a special computer or special website or search system that they use that is much easier for them to interact, and maybe post ads on that.
Maybe instead of taking it directly to blind people, like old people have like eyesight problem as well. Maybe you take it to like a nursing home and give it to like old people
Yeah.
there, because like they don't see that well either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you should try using it, like, blindfold yourself.
Yeah. That is a great one. You could get probably.
Suggestion.
Yeah.
Broadcast it onto media sites like YouTube or Instagram. Like, do like challenges and stuff with it, and hope and pray that they go viral.
Yeah.
Maybe I know most of you are gonna laugh about this, but TikTok maybe. That's a good platform for that. I don't know.
I love this. Yeah, really good ideas. So let's say we've picked one of those.
I vote for
and
no.
found- So cool. No, this is really good. So we've done one of those. Now the question is like, who are you selling it to? I think that now we're talking about distribution, right? So we had a really good point here, which is like it might not be the users that you're selling to, right? This is especially true if you're going to sell to companies, right? Like, I guess none of you work at a company, so all my examples are going to be bad. Does anybody know what Slack is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Slack, like they don't sell to their users really, right? They get their users like interested, but then they get their users to have somebody else buy it if you work at a company, right? So with blind people, like, you know, maybe through a nursing home, through a hospital, through like AARP, right? You might be able to find a lot of different ways, especially if you're struggling to like get blind people to click on ads, right? Maybe they're not the right people that actually buy your product, right? An example at Google for, you know, so I work in the Google Home and Nest division, so we make all the hardware at Google. And one of the things that we saw when we released the displays, like we had the speakers release the displays, is like a huge amount of kids were buying them for their parents, right? Because you can use it as a smart photo frame. And so now we gotta like, we tried to really focus our marketing on that smart photo frame aspect of the product, even though it can play music and YouTube videos and it can do all this other stuff. We realized that if we sell it as a smart photo frame, people will buy it as gifts for each other, right? So you can find different users. I think that's a really good one. That's the first one, which is like, who are you gonna sell it to, right? The next one is like, what are you making, right? And how do you talk about it, right? Is it a Jedi cane? Is it a safety device? Is it? You might find out. What is it? It's a cane that like you can tell how far things are.
It's a glove with a sensor in the front, and then I also have glasses right now, and like
Yeah.
He does an ultrasonic sensor.
That's okay. I actually work in software. Even though I work in Nest, I work in software. So I just learned about ultrasonic sensors like a couple months ago. So yeah, I mean, this is the next question. Once you figured out who you're selling it to, like, what are you selling? This is, again, with that display, we really had to figure it out because we were like, we're selling we tried this actually, like Google, for all its like glory, is sometimes not very tuned into like how people think. But we tried selling it as like a smart home assistant device, right? And like, how many do you think we sold when we were describing that? But then you sell it as a smart photo frame, and even though it's like one tiny little thing that it does, right? And all the engineers and the product managers were like, it does these 10 things, and you know, it's an AI device, right? It just, you know, nobody could connect to it except for that one little thing, right? So if you had to think about like, what is it in like 5 words, Mason?
well, the project's called
Okay.
That's what
Yeah, that is very cool. So it's a third eye for the blind. Yeah, so that's great. Thinking about what you're actually selling, and it's usually not the device, right? It's like the way that you make people feel, right? So a great example is like Mario. I'm like, I gotta like, check all my references. You guys don't know what Mario is?
No, we got Mario fans in here.
All right. So that flower, right?
The power.
Yeah.
The power flower, right? Like, yeah. So you can sell it as like, I've got a flower. It's really cool, right? It gives you the ability to shoot fire, right? But what you really want to sell is like, I will make you like powerful, right? Like, how are you gonna make the person feel? Third eye for the blind is a great one. I will give you sight, right? Like, I'll make you a sighted person, right? Probably not that extreme, but it's in the right direction, right? Which is like, how are you gonna make your users feel, right? So for the gardener example, like, you're probably not selling a smart garden device. What you're selling is like, I will make you who are like a bad gardener, like I'll make you a green thumb, like a good gardener, right? So let's keep going. And then the last thing is where, right? So like, we talked about this a little bit, like where are you gonna sell it? Because usually the first thing that you try is not gonna work. So you're gonna like, you know, try to sell it through Google or Amazon, maybe figure out it's not working, and then have to go to other channels. So let's take all those three. Who are we selling to? What are we selling? The marketing angle. And then like, where are we going to sell it? The channel. And so you were making the Wally.
Alexa
no,
for home automation.
Alexa for home automation. We should talk later, by the way. I work in home automation.
That's cool. For my project, I am using a particle spark core to broaden the functions that an Amazon Echo can do. Them being simple as turning on and off lights to opening and closing doors and sensing temperature, sensing humidity, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Cool. So who are you selling it to?
I think I can sell some of this to Amazon themselves. I think that's the best place to sell it to, because I am using their software, I am using their device,
Yeah.
and it would kind of, I don't know, it seems kind of niche compared to like using your own thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way to
Yeah,
put it.
that's cool. So you can sell it to Amazon. What if they say like, hey, you're a teenager and we got all these smart people? Who else can you sell it to?
Maybe I could advertise on like, let's say Kickstarter, or just buying ads myself, provided I have the money. Maybe I could advertise.
So that's sort of the
Or
where.
Amazon Echo.
That's kind of the where, right? We'll get there. But who would like the person that you want to go buy this thing? Like, how old are they? Where do they live? Right? Does it have to be a company? Could it be like an individual? Is it a parent or a child, or describe the person though?
I would think it would be just most individuals who own an Amazon Echo or any sort of device that runs on the AWS.
Yeah. That's good. I think in my experience it can be challenging to say like this product is for most people, because like you gotta get enough people like super excited about it to like try something new, right? So like another way to think about this is like, who would be willing to like pay 5 times as much as like the average person? Yeah, rich people. That can be a good. They're usually good customers.
Wealthy people aren't very good customers. They probably already have this, but better, considering that they are, as Nell said, wealthy. But
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay, so middle income.
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I didn't think about this.
Yeah, that's okay. That's why we're doing this, because most people don't, especially if we're engineer. I'm an engineer by trade, so we're not like trained to think about it. But that's why we're here. Anybody else? Like, it doesn't have to be like the right answer. Just like, who's one possible person you can target?
People who can't really move around themselves.
Yeah,
So the
this is
elderly.
great. Elderly or disabled.
I think like here's quite a good area because you have a lot of high income individuals that are also very interested in tech and want the newest cool gadgets without really
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like, getting like specific, I would say like 30 to 45-year-olds who have a stable income and who live in relatively populated areas like the Bay, New York area, other like city areas.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I don't know, my personal experience is like Devon said, those are the people who are the most interested in what's up and coming. I feel like those are people who might already be interested in looking into some of the different home automation softwares that are available. And I also find that like really old people, like for example, my grandparents got an Amazon Alexa, or Echo or whatever it's called, and they didn't like it because it was like foreign to them, and they like don't like the fact that like it's like listening to them, and if they say hey Alexa, it'll respond. Like they didn't like that. So I feel like kind of advertising to a market that's more open to that kind of change and different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so the last one. Where are you gonna sell it? Or what? Not where, but like what? Give me like. Let's try and come up with 3 totally different ways, wheres that you could sell it. Right? Where
Wait,
are
I
the 3
want to be
channels?
respectful of your time because I don't know if you have a deadline, but it is 1:15 right now.
Oh, it is. Okay, so let's go on, and I just want to give one shot to Wally. That sounds really cool. Let's figure out the where. So you can describe really quickly like what it is and.
Yeah, it's basically I have a what we call it a frame that kind of looks like Wally the robot, and he has a bunch of different sensors and appliances attached to Arduino that can replicate emotion basically, but like he doesn't respond emotionally like you program him like how you would want him to, but he's got like LED displays and like eyebrow movements, and can make sounds and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, cool. Let's kind of try and come up quickly with 3 places we could sell it. Yeah.
So I'm thinking like probably on the younger side because Wall-E is definitely like a kids movie and sort of they might.
So where do younger people buy things?
That's
Toys R Us. Okay, yeah, like, so you can do retail, big box retail, right?
You could like sell it to like Disney or like Disneyland, maybe they could sell it there.
Yeah, that's, so you can go through retailers, you can go through like distributors like Disney. Yes?
Perhaps sort of like bipolar disorder where people have difficulty recognizing emotions.
Uh-huh. And where do they buy stuff?
I don't know.
Amazon? Yeah, that's
Maybe
where most
Amazon,
people buy.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe a medical device, they could just have the hospitals.
Yeah, so hospitals, that would be another really good one. I think we got 3. So cool, just really quickly, I just want you guys to think about, like, when you make your stuff, like, just to wrap the whole thing up, like, does anyone want it? And how are you gonna get it to them, right? And probably you'll forget everything else, but like, remember those 2. Thanks.
Alright guys, chairs back in the class. Village brought chairs, take them back.